Hey everybody, this is Draymond. Today we have a nice 5-game Major League Baseball slate. It'll be a smaller slate today. Before I get started, can you guys smash that like and subscribe button? Helps the channel a lot. I do appreciate it. Let's look at the weather first. So we do have some concerns in the LA Angels New York Yankees game, as it does have some risk of rain and potentially getting that game delayed. The good thing is it's the first game of the slate, so we'll know that before it's too much of an issue. So that's good news at least. So we should know whether that game plays or not. That will definitely have a play with the pitching today. So let's go ahead and get into that. So the pitchers, there's really three guys that jump off as top options, and then it's pretty abysmal after that point. Nestor Cortez being the best GPP play on the slate. He does have a little bit of a low ceiling, or sorry, low floor, as he's not had a lot of really good games lately, but he does have a good ceiling, and he's got a capable matchup against the Angels, who have struggled a lot lately, and he's one of the better options on the slate. Now, the strikeout potential here is very low for most of the pitchers on the slate, so that is a concern today, because you're not really going to make or break somebody based on their strikeout potential so much as you might normally do. Looking at Brian Wu for the Seattle Mariners, he's got a favorable matchup against Detroit. He has a really good ceiling for this game, despite having not the most ideal K rate potential, as he's had some really subpar strikeout games this season. But I do think he's in a good spot here with a decent opportunity to have a good game. Kyle Gibson for St. Louis is also in play against Tampa Bay. Now, I do like some Tampa Bay guys. I think they're kind of a contrarian team today, but Gibson does have some potential today, even though he doesn't have the highest of ceilings. He's one of the safer options on this slate, which isn't saying much because there's not a lot of great options. All those three guys will also be the highest owned guys. The only real way to be super contrarian is potentially to go with Gosman against Baltimore, but that's definitely a high order there, and he has had some ups and downs lately, though he does have the best K rate on the slate. A couple other guys like Creamer and Baz have some potential, but they're in high risk, high reward situations as well. So uh, let's go ahead and look at our catchers today. So the catching today is pretty good. It's actually somewhat deep, but it is a little bit expensive today, with Romuto being the top overall play here at $4,500 for Philly. He's got a favorable matchup here. He's got good hitting metrics, and I think he's a solid play on the slate. Looking at Cal Raleigh, he's also in play for Seattle here. He's kind of a home runner best kind of guy lately, but he does have good home run potential today, so he's definitely worth a look. Logan O'Hoppe is also in play for the Angels, so he's about the same price point, and he's very contrarian on this particular slate. The ownership, Romuto, Kirk, and Cal Raleigh, with Adley Rutschman, Logan O'Hoppe, and Ben Orvert being kind of the low-owned upside guys. Looking at first base, Bryce Harper does jump off the page as a great option on the slate, and he's been pretty good throughout the season, and he's been good against Arizona. He's got really good hitting metrics today as well. I do think he's a really solid play. A good contrarian away from him is Vlade Jr., who's been absolutely phenomenal lately. Also been phenomenal against Baltimore this season. I don't think his matchup metrics are quite as good as Harper's, but they're definitely up there, so he's definitely in play on the slate. As for other options today, the ownership, Horwitz, Justin Turner, Josh Bell, Vlad Jr., DJ LeMahieu, and Bryce Harper, low-owned upside guys, Mountcastle, O'Hearn, and Diaz. The Harper and Vlade Jr. just come off the page as just overtly better than all the other choices. Looking at second base, now this is it's hard to find a lot of value on the slate, and this is one of the better positions for value. It also has one of the best hitters on the slate with Akito Marte, though he's extremely expensive and he does need to hit a home run to pay off, but he does have fantastic hitting and home run metrics today. So he's definitely in play, but I do think Gleyber Torres is the safest value play on this entire slate, which is kind of rough for that, but he does have good hitting metrics today and has some really good potential to have a solid game here and be a good option to have value at a position that, doesn't always hit home runs. So I think he's a really good slot option. Looking at Brandon Lowe as well is kind of a contrarian play here, but the ownership, Gleyber Torres, Chris Morel, and Brandon Lowe, low-owned upside guys, Amendo, Sosa, Brennan Drury, Spencer Horwitz, and Ketel Marte. Now, Sosa actually looks like a extremely good value play, but again, there's just too much value plays at that position to really love and not go expensive, kind of from that perspective. Looking at third base, Alec Boom for Philly does have good metrics today. He does have good hitting metrics. with his price point being a little bit high, I really wish he had some better home run metrics today, but I still think he's a solid option today, but he's not a must play. Jazz Chisholm Jr., now his metrics also look solid today. He's kind of a hit or miss play right now, but he does look pretty good. He's got home run potential. Definitely worth a look there. Alec Boom and Chris Morel will be the top ownership. Now, Chris Morel and Edmundo Sosa definitely are good contrarian plays today. Sosa is definitely somebody that you could throw in at third base to help you pay up at other positions. So Sosa is also the top low owned upside guy at that position as well. Looking at shortstop, Trey Turner does jump off a page with absolutely phenomenal hitting metrics and pretty good home run upside as well. Even though he has somewhat struggled at times this season, he's been hitting the ball pretty well, and he's been good against Arizona this season. So he's a really good play. He's a little bit cheaper than Gunnar Henderson, who's the other top tier play here. Now Henderson has probably better home run metrics for this particular game, but his hitting metrics is nearly as good as well. And he's had really good games throughout the season. But the ownership will go to Trey Turner, with Henderson being the cheap option or the alternative option. A couple other guys that you can consider here: Anthony Volpe and Zach Neto for uh, uh, the Yankees and the Angels, respectively. Neto hit a grand slam yesterday, so he's definitely going to be somebody that people are going to look at as kind of be a option that's cheap. Looking at outfielders, Judge, Soto, and Anthony Santander are the top three overall plays at this position. They all look really solid today, and they have a lot of home run upside. Looking at some other options, though, George Springer for Toronto looks very interesting today. He doesn't have the best of metrics, and he's had some struggles throughout the season, but he does have some home run upside at this on the slate. Now, a guy that I've really thought about making a core play here is Grichuk for Arizona. He's nicely priced at $3,400. He's got good home run metrics today and decent hitting metrics as well, which he really hasn't had a whole lot of this season from fantasy perspective. Now, he did hit a home run in his last game, so that definitely helps. But he is in a good spot, and so he's definitely worth a look. A couple other guys that we can consider here: Giancarlo Stanton. Now, he is kind of a home runner best guy throughout the season, and he does have that good upside today, though he's a little pricey for that, just being a home run hitter. Josh Lowe, if you go with the Tampa Bay stack, then he'd be the top person on the team to stack up, mostly because you have multiple positions in the outfield to fill in, but he's definitely got some decent metrics on the slate. Some contrarian options today: Randy Arozarena, Kyle Schwarber, Nick Castellanos, and then Lourdes Gurriel. The top ownership will be Castellanos, Juan Soto, Josh Lowe, and Aaron Judge, with Lou Perfido, Grichuk, Stanton, Springer, and Dalton Varsho being available as well. Low-owned upside guys: Anthony Santander, Colton Cowser, Kyle Schwarber, Jazz Chisholm Jr., Cedric Mullins, and Jose Siri.